Uh-oh. Yours barks, mine's gonna bark.
Yeah. And then Olivier's going to show up. Hey guys.
Hey, Molly and Brody.
Come over here. You know who she is. Come on.
Right when we go live. Right when we go live. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, that's the way it is.
It is funny. I'm just glad it's you and not my joke.
Hey, hi everyone. Feel free to show your video.
I don't know where we're going to sit her in, but we can put her behind you or
We're
something.
here
maybe.
with Claude Me, with Bruce and Gretel. Claude Me, they're in Ventura County in California, just north of LA, let's say. And Ruth Ryberg, who's Assam, based out of what seems to be a gorgeous island in Georgia. Have to go visit.
No?
And so I'm Sheila Donahue. Hey, Mary. It's nice to meet you finally.
Hi, nice to meet you. Yeah.
So, so everyone feel free to show your video. We want this to be interactive. And just a quick introduction. I'm Sheila Donahue, and founder of Vero. We go around and find small producers of wine and olive oil, like Claude Me. You know, we really love what we do because there's like passion underlying everything, from the producers to our clients, which are consumers and businesses around the U.S. that purchase our wines. Our website is verovinogusta.com. I think most of you on the Zoom, know about us already. And so we're really excited to have Bruce and Gretel with us, especially because it's close to Valentine's Day, and there is a love story that that's underlying this. So, but I'm going to turn it over to Ruth. I like Ruth and Bruce and Gretel for you to introduce yourselves as well. So, Ruth, why don't you start?
Everyone, my name is Ruth Ryberg. I'm a certified somm. I live in Georgia. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Sheila. And I want to thank Bruce and Gretel from Cordon for being here as well. If we get started on the interview, if everybody could turn their mute button on, it will just create less distractions. And then how we're going to go through this is I'm going to interview Bruce and Gretel. They're there in their vineyard in Ventura. And then we're going to taste, and you'll be led along when to do that. At the end, we'll taste all the wine together. So once again, welcome. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. So Bruce, I have heard you are the Pied Piper of Ventura County. And we'll get to more about Ventura County in a minute. But this is Bruce and Gretel Mize Compton, and they are the operators and owners of the winery Clos des Amis. I'd like to start off, since we're here for Valentine's Day. I'd like to hear a little bit about your romance, how you met. Doesn't have to be real lengthy, but this is part of our theme tonight. How did our Valentines meet?
Well, let me start, because I'll keep it really short. I applied the standard come and see my etchings approach. But it was photos of France, and that's all I'm going to say. I'll let Gretel fill in all the edges, because it worked. Let me just say that line still works. How did we meet?
Well, we've actually known each other for decades, and we've known each other from the art world. I am a screen printer. I took screen printing classes from his predecessor at the college. He took over when she retired, and then he taught it. And so I took the class from him. Also, we worked together
remotely.
On the same kind of campus. And so we were colleagues. And so we've known each other a long time. We both just before we got together. We both were going through divorces from long marriages, and yeah, I was looking for somebody to share studio space, and so I called him out of the blue.
I was looking for someone to help me do a workshop, and so it worked.
And yeah, so
And it was all in France, so that made it even
yeah,
more romantic.
absolutely.
Yay, friends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
That
it
has to be good.
was the experience of a lifetime. It was
Awesome.
So
fabulous.
I'll show you my etchings or my French photos, and can you accompany me to this workshop? And
In the south of France.
Yeah.
Oh shoot.
did I buy the tickets? I can't remember. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't.
Well,
But that's how
oh, go ahead.
That's how we kind of started at the personal level, and then I had
And wine
this-
wasn't even a thing for me
yeah.
back then.
I had the winery. I think that was I was just getting licensed.
Yeah.
So she got sucked right in it, like we all do in the wine thing, and that worked. So she's been a great addition to my efforts, and we're good friends. So can't beat that.
It works. Yay.
Many layers.
We have
Yes.
another love story to talk about in a little while, but before we get into that, can you tell people, and Sheila, there's a couple more slides we can go through if you want.
Sure.
Before I move on to Ventura County, there's Gretel there in the barrel room. And then the next slide is an image of you in an article.
Yes.
Briefly, I see you have champagne there. Is that champagne that you made?
Yeah, that's our latest effort to expand our what we make, and how can you not want to make a sparkling?
Okay.
And of course, the whole problem with the use of the word champagne,
Right.
as many of you and your clients all know, can't do that. So as we were making this, and the first batch was highly effervescent, my daughter, who was helping me, she says, Dad, you're making not champagne, you're making shambang. So that's what we titled it, and I've got it passed through all the TTB labeling things,
Copyright.
and I even got it copyrighted. So we make shambang.
There you go.
That's the trade name. We still call it sparkling wine, but it's shambang. So
We love it.
we have a
That's
lot of fun with that.
Maybe we can try that next time.
Oh, absolutely. It's a delicious quaff.
There you
And
go.
it's locally grown grapes. We've dedicated a vineyard, a Chardonnay vineyard, to the whole production of that. So
Wonderful.
that's kind of fun, because you harvest it different. You do everything different with the sparkling wine than you do with the other
Right.
wines. So
Right.
Yeah.
So, Sheila, if you could go on to the next slide, we're going to show everybody where they're located, because I'm a sommelier and I also have 2 other certifications, and I had never had a wine from Ventura County until I tried his Pinot Noir. And so I knew it was somewhere around LA. So Bruce and Gretel, the dot obviously is where you are. I don't know if we have a cursor, but if somebody has a cursor, can you show them where Santa Barbara is? Because it's up
Yeah.
to the northwest.
Yeah, you're going perfectly. Yeah, it's up there.
It's yeah. Keep going. Keep
Yeah,
going.
we abut that line right there is Santa Barbara. See, we
Okay.
abut Santa Barbara, and,
Yeah.
and on the bottom we abut Los Angeles County. So we're right in between the two.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what I wanted people to see. And when I
This is the ocean.
yep,
Right.
that's Pacific, yep. It's virtually an undiscovered wine region, and specifically you're in the Santa Clara Valley. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
which is basically the gray stripe of river you see. There you go. That's right, Sheila. There you go.
Okay, lovely.
Yeah,
That's very
That's the
helpful.
valley.
Yeah, I'm a map person, so that's super helpful. And originally I thought, oh, no way, it's too hot to grow grapes there. So can you explain why the climate works?
Sure. For one thing, Ventura County is very agriculturally focused. I mean, it's got fantastic soil. in some of the flatlands for farming, and then it's got the mountain regions and it's got these great rivers. The other half, the upper half of the county is all national forest. So that's good for marijuana, but the other half here that we're talking about is just fertile and very diverse geologically. We're on the West Coast here. We've been crunched and uplifted and eroded and flooded and it's dynamic. So our soils are all mixed, and that makes it interesting. Because I've made wine from grapes planted all over the county, and we found the sweet spot, which is where we are at right here. We have cool evening coastal, influenced weather coming in, cools the grapes down. We have good heat because we are in a warm part of the nation. But if you find the right spot, the right little canyons, the right valleys, you get the premium what I want to say, terroir, the premium little mesoclime,
Right.
So we have a very advantageous grape growing region. It just has not been pursued.
Now, are you protected by this mountain range that Sheila's going to show us? Or is that between you and the ocean?
No, that is the other side.
Okay.
Behind my back. We are sitting on the other side of this valley. And what that valley does is go straight out to the coast.
Okay.
So what we do is we have the heat from the day, and then at night, the
cool
cold
night
air comes right in. That can be covered in fog.
And it kind of is foggy right now.
So we have this good, it's a diurnal effect, they call it, warm today, the cold goes out and then it comes back in the evening. So we have this, it's perfect. Now it doesn't work everywhere in this county. This valley, if you go another 10 miles further, it gets too hot. If you go to another part of the county, the soils aren't right. It gets real picky, real precise, I should say.
That's good.
And Ventura County has it. We could be a grape growing region.
Okay. And that brings me to my next question. How many wineries are there? And then out of those wineries, how many would you say actually buy their grapes? I know you are working with your own vineyard that's owned by someone else that you manage, but out of the wineries that are there aren't very many. How many actually grow their own grapes?
Yeah, in the whole county, even talking next to LA, there's probably 15. Gwendolyn, what do you think? How many 15 wineries? Yeah. Of those 15, only a few of us actually grow grapes from or make wine from grapes grown in Ventura County. Most, and even it's most of it's all from Santa Barbara, Paso Robles, Lodi.
Yeah.
I have been making wine specifically from Ventura County grapes for 20 years. Now that other wineries have come in, and I was one of 3 wineries at that time, now that other wineries have come in, they've also been able to access grapes from the county. So I have a little competition on that, but so I've got the sweet spot.
I guess.
What's that?
You're the pioneer.
Yeah. And I've got the sweet spot, so I don't care. I've got it dialed, It took 20 years to do this, I was making wines at places that you'd wish would make wines and they don't, because it's just not right. It's all about the soil. It's all about the terroir, okay? And it's all about the soil, the aspect, the
climate,
the weather, and the right grape in the right spot. It takes your whole life to learn this stuff. I'm learning.
You're getting there.
So at this point, if all of our viewers could get out a little bit of Chardonnay, I'm going to give you a bit of an instruction. We're not going to talk about it quite yet, but
just drink it.
I really want you to get involved in I know you're interested in the wine. Before we get to talking about it, though, I have a few more questions for Bruce. So if you want to go ahead and pour some Chardonnay to sip along, it's a beautiful color. I have it here in my glass. And it's just a beautiful wine, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to table the talk, and I'm going to keep asking Bruce some questions so everybody can get into the wine while we're talking. The next slide is a photo of Gretel in the vineyards. And these are vineyards that you manage, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And how many acres do you have?
Total, maybe 8. This is a 2-acre vineyard right here.
And what vine is this?
Where are you, Gretel? Are you in the, you're in the Pinot? You're in the Syrah?
It's whatever's going
that
on
looks like it might be the Syrah.
the trellis.
Yeah, I think so from the angle there. So this is Syrah.
So the next slide, in comparison, is double Cordon. So what
Right.
grape is on the double Cordon?
That looks like our Sauvignon Blanc.
Sauvignon Blanc. Okay.
Most of our grapes are trained in the
Yeah,
Yeah.
most all of them are. We have the Fillmore vineyard is our latest vineyard. The vines are the youngest, and we're head training those, or goblet training.
So yeah, so the difference, that's an interesting word a lot of people aren't familiar with, but when you say goblet, basically they prune it in the shape of a goblet, and it doesn't have a stake, it doesn't have a trellis system or a line or a wire at all. It's how the old vines are usually.
Yeah, there's many ways to train vines, many.
Yep.
But you don't see them all here in the new world. You know, you'll find some bizarre stuff, especially in the old world. But most of it is bicordon trained on wires and poles for a lot of reasons.
That's what this is. So all of our viewers, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's what a
Gotcha.
double Cordon is. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, right there, that picture right there, one arm on each side. And then you have like every fist is a spur, which grows a cane, and you train that straight up on the wires, so you get good airflow. You get the fruit all hanging in the same direction, not direction, same zone.
Yeah.
So it's easier for maintenance and picking, and it's the more commercial and established and successful training approach. The other example, like Gretel's talking about, the head trained, is we didn't want to do all that infrastructure because it's expensive to put the wire, the poles, and all that. So we tried this other approach, and it's more labor intense, but it's another old world style. You know, we're still experimenting every day. You know, every time we have a chance, we try something new, but we base it on our understanding of what works. So bilateral Cordon trained vines are the norm in California.
Okay, that's helpful. How many grapes do you grow? And if you want to name them, just so everybody has an idea, because we have the Chardonnay and the Pinot and the Grenache. So other than those 3, and you mentioned this Sauvignon Blanc, and you mentioned Syrah. So
Yes.
What else are you growing?
Well, in the whites, we have the Sauvignon Blanc, the Chard. We have Gretel just planted some Albarino. That'll be up and running in this season. We should have our first crop. We do have a small batch of Riesling, so we do a late harvest Riesling dessert wine. Those are our main whites. We do a Pinot Noir, Syrah, Grenache. We have Malbec. We have Mourvèdre, little Carignan,
and a little
and Zinfandel, and Petit Verdot, and Zinfandel. And so we have a nice range. This is all on those 8 acres. You know, they're all spread around, small batch. They're usually 2-barrel batches at a time.
So really small. How many cases, just for our viewers, if you have a 1 barrel, how many cases can you get out of a barrel?
25,
And that's
24, because you drank one, getting it all done.
That is awesome.
Sorry, that's that's the cost. That's
So this is growing in what kind of soil here? Because I know you mentioned that you have many kinds of soil, but there's one in particular that I want you to talk about, and I'm trying to get to it, but I don't know what you grow in it. Probably your Pinot Noir and your Chardonnay. But what is the soil type in this picture?
The
Okay,
one that's on the
next slide.
screen now.
Oh, the one we have, yeah.
Yeah.
That's our diatomaceous earth. That's our limestone. That's our hillside that used to be under the ocean as a seafloor. And so it's all covered, those little diatoms. And then it got uplifted by some tectonic event. And then it got slumped by some rain slide thing, you know. So we have this mix, and that's that one hill. Next to it is our clay loam. So it's very diverse. And that's what's really fun, because with time, you can really specify what grape you want in what soil, and with what rootstock and all those other factors. But Sauvignon Blanc does great on that kind of soil, because it keeps that minerality and acidity, and so that's a real special little spot of the vineyard.
And we also planted the Albarino in that same
the Albarino's
zone.
right below it. So we should have real nice minerality on that.
Hopefully.
And I was told that you've actually found whalebone in that vineyard. In that
yeah, I'm sure. I don't know who found that, but yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, because our highest mountain here in the county, at 6,000 feet, our highest mountain has seashells on top of it.
Yeah.
That's how strange this land's been formed. You know, how violently it's been formed.
Well, and I'm aware of that, but I didn't think our viewers were. You know, I was in Paso, where they have big oyster shells this big in the soil. I dug one out with my own hands. It was just amazing to me. But I also went to, I think it was Epic, that has some whalebone fossils. So I thought our viewers would be interested in that it really is an ancient seabed. And to me, that's just
Yeah,
I
I would have taken a picture by the booster pump up on the sandbank there. Remember that spiral, that Nautilus looking shell?
Oh,
Imprint left in the sand.
That's cool. Yeah, very cool. And the only other place I found a Nautilus was in Chablis. So that's Chardonnay.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Gretel, I have a question for you. If you want to go to the next slide, this slide is a slide of you pruning. Or that's a grape. Wait a minute. Which one which grape is that?
That looks like Grenache.
Okay, I think I just skipped what I told Sheila to do that slide. But then the next slide, I think, is you pruning. Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the first time I met you, Bruce called you the wine slave, because I asked what
the lovely wine slave.
So Bruce does he does the winemaking. He spends a day in the cellars. But Gretel, here you are pruning, and we saw another picture of you in the vineyard, and you said that you planted a new vineyard. So what else are you in charge of, quote unquote?
Everything.
I kind of pick up all the rest of the pieces that he, his devotion to making the wine, all the rest of the pieces that fall by the wayside, so I kind of have to deal with the website and the wine club, the labels, the sales to local.
Let me interject. Here. I am the winemaker, okay, but I'm not an egomaniac. So I said, Gretel, would you like to? And I could tell she was just waiting for this opportunity. Would you want to take on making your own cuvee? That means you have the sleepless nights, all the decisions you have to make, what yeast to choose from, or what to do as far as manipulating the wines. And I let her do it. And so she's also a co-winemaker. So not only is she helping me in the vineyard, because you make the wine in the vineyard, as most of us all are aware, she also is active in the cellar aspect of it too. And we talk about it. We talk about the blends. We talk about all aspects of this business. So she does everything.
That's
I couldn't
great.
do without her, you know.
That's great.
And
Um,
especially in the last couple years, you
Sure.
know, that's
Been
been,
training.
That's awesome. That's wonderful to start with art and get to wine. I mean, that's my life. I started with art and got to wine, so it's pretty awesome.
I know it's,
Yeah.
yeah. What did somebody say? It was my encore career,
There you go.
my encore career.
Your encore.
If you look at this slide of Gretel, up at the horizon, you'll see the Channel Islands behind her,
Oh yeah.
which are the closest one is 16 miles,
Anacapa.
and this farthest
Yeah.
one is maybe 26 miles or 20 something. I don't know, but they're just right off the coast. So this vineyard is facing the Pacific Ocean and gets direct cool weather every night.
And this is our
That's our champagne.
Chambang vineyard. This is the Chardonnay vineyard we
Chardonnay.
use for our sparkling.
Wonderful.
It's an incredible vineyard.
That's great. So I'm going to have everybody put their Chardonnay, if they still have it, they can set it down and get another glass before we talk about it. And you can pour some Pinot Noir, because I still have some questions for Bruce and Gretel.
Okay.
So keep some Chardonnay for later. Pour another glass of the, a second glass if you can, of the Pinot Noir. And then we're going to move on to some wine production questions. And if you could show us some of the next few pictures, Bruce, I'm going to have you walk us through these one by one, and not very. We don't have to take a lot of time, but you can just kind of tell us what they are. So Sheila, would you go to the next slide, and then he'll talk about it for a minute, and then we'll go to the next one. So this is the process. This is Veraison. So we're going to walk people through the production process with these slides. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
And so yeah, the grapes are turning the color from the green to the red, and a lot of things happen at this point. The sugars start to escalate. This picture of fruit here is pretty clean, very nice, you know. And what we have to do is try to maintain this kind of freshness and protection on the clusters, because we have very strong powdery mildew issues. It'd be downy mildew, I think, in your part of the world, and it can be devastating. And then you have other pests like birds.
Yeah.
As
soon as they
raccoons,
turn purple,
deer,
they turn sweet.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So there's a lot of protection we need to do with netting and shotguns.
He's joking.
I'm joking, but you know, it's maddening. It's
we
maddening.
just save the guns for the rattlesnakes.
Yeah. So we pick them by hand. We don't mechanically harvest, because that's kind of a rough treatment on the grapes, although it's becoming more and more necessary because of our labor shortages and issues here in California. But we handpick. So we get a bunch of our buddies, our Clotas and me friends, our amis, and we come out here and harvest. And we have almost a bacchanal to get the grapes to the winery and get them processed.
That's the next.
It's a lot of fun.
You want to go to the next slide, Sheila? That'll be the next one. So that shows the bins, I believe.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
bin.
We pick right into these bins, and we trailer them down from the vineyard. This is now at the winery, and we bucket those from the bins into our crusher destemmer, if we so choose to crush and destem them. That separates the grapes from the stems. Sometimes we do full cluster processing. It depends.
Yeah.
But the grapes are basically crushed, destemmed, put into a settling tank overnight, so all the bug wings and stuff, you know, can kind of settle down. We rack that juice into another container and then start the fermentation process. So it's work. It's all fun. Other wineries would bin dump those bins into larger crusher destemmer machines, and it's all a matter of scale. Ours is still, hands-on, old world, manual labor style. And we do it with all our friends. So we gather everybody around, pick, bring them down here, process them, and then cook something on the barbecue behind us. And, you know, it's fun. And yeah, these are some nice, what would that have been? Because we have some white grapes on the top there.
I think that's the pick from Bella.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so this was a new vineyard we picked from, and it had a little bit of white grapes. And so you can co-ferment those. I mean, it goes on and on and on. You know, this is primarily Syrah and Grenache at that vineyard.
Yeah.
And that was a little bit of Viognier. So, you know, in the Rhone Valley, they do Syrah and Viognier co-fermented wines all the time. I mean, it's a standard, maybe 5% white grapes with the red.
It just kind of smooths out
aromatics and
yeah.
you know. So there's all this stuff, and what's fun, guys, is the learning curve on this whole business is steep and worldwide and fun. You know, you're talking to us, and someone else can give you a whole nother flavor on it. You know, and it's all making the best wine we can. It's engaging.
Sorry. Do you ferment in tank or in oak vats?
Normally in tank. Sometimes we ferment in those plastic bins on our open top containers.
Oh.
Other times we ferment in stainless steel, or mainly our whites. We crush, destem, or whatever, and press, and then just ferment the juice in stainless steel. It all depends on you know, the grape itself, the style of how it's traditionally done, and then what we feel like trying to do. So there's a lot of variables, you know. I just did a carbonic maceration project, as you mentioned that in some of your notes, so we can talk about that at some point, but that's a whole different animal too.
Now, was that with the Pinot?
That was with the Zinfandel.
Okay.
Because I did not want the Zinfandel to be a standard Paso Robles Zinfandel. I wanted to make a Ventura County.
Okay, so
Zinfandel.
briefly tell our viewers, for people that have never heard of those two words together, carbonic maceration. Briefly, just tell us what that means.
Okay, let me first start with those bins in front of you, which are the standard way. You would punch those down with the you know,
a punch down tool, not your feet.
Yeah, we don't do the feet.
Not your feet.
That's an open top fermentation process. That's the standard way that's done everywhere. And you punch it down, mix it up, and it stays in that bin for a week, maybe 2 weeks, as it ferments. And it goes from those big clusters into just a soup. Okay, a must. And then that's pressed off and made into wine. The carbonic maceration is putting it into a closed container. Some of it's crushed, some of it's not, and it's sealed tight, and it's blanketed with carbon dioxide, and it does a different molecular fermentation that's different than this. It's bizarre. It was invented somewhere around the mid 1800s, and the intent is to make a fruitier, less tannic wine. Yeah. And so with Zinfandel, it can be, you know, Zinfandel can just be too big, too alcoholic, too jammy. I mean, some people love that. That's what it kind of has a reputation for. But this one we have right now is, it's spicy, it's fruity, it's fun, it's alive. And so we keep experimenting, you know, we keep trying. Get it right one of these days.
There you go. The next slide is I don't have any vats or I don't have any tank pictures, but the next slide is pressed grapes.
There you go. Okay, there you go. Isn't that a beauty? That's the cake. And so there's a wooden basket that goes all around that's all clamped tight. And the lid comes down, and there's a bladder inside that whole cake that expands and pushes the grapes to the outside of the basket, and then drains out that little drain at the left there. And so this is the final pressing of a fermented red. The grapes are all macerated because we punched them down, broke them up. They've sat in the in the vin, in the vat, and the temperature. You know, we chart the temperature and the sugars, and it gets pretty hot, pretty warm, and it ferments, and then we press it off, and that's the cake that's remains, and you know, we try to get that.
It's very dry.
Yeah, it's very dry, and that's a fun shot. Yeah, we always love that when we pull it off. There's your cake.
Do you put it in the vineyards as composting? Because I know
Yes.
some vineyards do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that goes directly. If we had pigs, it'd go directly in the pig pen, but it goes directly into the vineyard, or we have some lemons around us, so we put it out in the orchard and sheet compost it. You know, let it spread out. It's great stuff because it's got all the nutrients you need for a good compost starter. But we sheet compost it.
There you go.
Thank you. It's getting cool.
I have more
And
blankets.
The last slide in this grouping is the just the barrel room. I don't know if there's it's kind of a nice picture of your barrel room.
Next one. Oh. There we go.
Oh yeah,
That's
that's
Barrel room, not the
that's
whole
getting
room.
the barrels ready. That's soaking them.
Oh, you're
yeah. What
soaking
we're doing, what we're doing there is rehydrating some barrels.
it. Okay.
So those don't have wine in those. Those are empty. They're going to have wine put in them. They've been. It's called cooperage, the maintaining of the barrels, and you need to keep them moist so that the staves stay nice and tight and the barrels don't leak. Because you don't want to start filling a barrel with your freshly pressed wine and start having it leak all over the cellar floor. It's stressful. And so you prep the barrels with water. It looks like a sheet of paper on there, but that's just a reflection of light. But
Yeah.
you put some water in the top, you put some water inside, they swell up. We steam them to.
This is a very long process.
Yeah, we steam them to kind of sanitize them, and barrels are beautiful. They're all handmade. There's no nails and glue. They're just beautiful pieces of things to work with, you know.
Like furniture, wine
Yeah,
furniture.
it's just beautiful.
I love it.
We use our barrels are considered neutral barrels. They've already been used for their maximum oak influence, and now they're neutral. And
you don't
so
use any new barrels at all in your production?
we have, but our production is so small, it's difficult.
Right.
I don't like to move the wine around a lot. And if you put it into one barrel of wine, the whole cuvee into a brand new barrel, it's going to get over oaked. So
Yeah.
you have to kind of give them just a little taste and get them out, you know. So we have purchased new barrels. You have to handle them delicately.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm gonna have everybody pour themselves in a third glass. If you have a third glass, the
Oh my
Grenache.
gosh.
And I still have one more interview question. Well, it's a group of questions for it's our second Valentine story is coming up. But if you can pour yourself a little Grenache, and again, we're going to come back and talk about all these after the interview because I want everybody that's participating to give their input and ask questions. So be thinking about that as you're tasting. Bruce, I'm going to ask you where you got your wine education. And by asking you that, I'd like you to tell the second Valentine story. And Sheila, you can change the slide over whenever he's ready.
I'm ready.
So she's gonna change the slide. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's mom and dad. Mother was French Algerian, and so somehow young GI dad and mom met in Oran in the country of Algeria.
World War II.
World War II, you know, stationed up there in North Africa, and fell in love, got married, went through all those difficult efforts to get married, because women weren't supposed to marry GIs. It was really difficult. Bad thing, on a bad scar on the family, you know. Well, anyway, mom and dad persevered, and mom went back. This is even before I was born, but he went back with my brothers and sister, and reconnected with her family and reestablished all the connections, and then made this bridge across the Atlantic Ocean that all the French relatives and would come over to America, and all of us Americans would go over to France. And it wasn't just this bridge, it was this like whole cultural exchange. It was fabulous. And so my early visits to France, with my cousins and all these people, you know, that I was getting to know, I'd see them drinking wine and using wine with their meals, and incorporated it into daily life. And I thought, wow, Mom, this is pretty cool. I mean, because we didn't have that kind of experience at home in America. Mom was trying to become an American, you know, and so a lot of those customs were left in the old country. So I was very fortunate to be able to be exposed to those. And then repeated trips back, my relatives would take me to Bordeaux, to Burgundy, to through the Loire Valley. Our last trip was at Alsace. So I've got this education that way, you know, exposure. And then a lot of my practical hands-on education was like on-the-job training. I got some grapes, started making wine. And I had some help with Adam Tolmack at the Ojai Vineyard, who was another local winemaker, who taught me like the school of hard knocks. You know, I'd take my samples there, and he'd give it to me. He'd give it to me straight, you know. And so I learned that way. And that actually, by the time I started making decent wine, I got to work for him. You know, he let me into his own winery. And so I worked for him professionally for I don't know, 5 years or so, but I've known him for 20. So I had that kind of a background. I did not go to school.
Okay.
And you know,
I have a problem with that.
you know, I am, you know, I've been able to make excellent wines by learning how to make excellent wines. And that's not something you do by the book or by the numbers. A lot of winemakers make wine by the numbers. You know, you send them off to a lab and they say, oh, this is the pH, this is the alcohol, you know, this is the TA, you know, this is all these other factors that they can test. You make wine by tasting it, you know, and by learning how to not make mistakes. That's how you make wine. And it takes time. And that's what Gretel's learning, because, you know, you make a bad wine, you go, I don't want to talk about that one.
I'll just put that aside.
Yeah.
But I also want to emphasize, you know, Bruce's mission, his passion to make wine from Ventura County grapes, is expressing terroir, and is, in all of our wines are really not just, I mean, they're not done by the numbers, they're done by taste, and they express a year, a time, a place, which is something I think wine does better than anything else.
It does. I would agree with
You know,
you.
so I think I'm fascinated by that, because yeah, our vintages taste different. And it's because maybe that year we got more rain, we dry farmed. The next year, maybe we
Well, there's a common thread because of the terroir and the expression.
there is.
But there's nuances.
There's nuances, and when you do wine by the numbers, and you do wine by chemical, you know, additions, then you lose all that.
So
you know?
you don't add, you know, I was told there's over 250 different additives that a winemaker can add.
I can't afford that.
Making is a natural wine. That's what you're trying to make.
Yeah.
Correct?
You let the wines, you know, speak for themselves. Like I say, you don't make mistakes. You don't need all those things if you're sloppy, or if you're making what I call a Mick wine, something that's the same everywhere. I don't do that. I don't want my wines to taste like anyone else's wines. That's not my goal of winemaking, because then you get those undescribable sameness kind of wines. They're the same every year. It doesn't even matter. That's not me. I don't use, all I need is good grapes and yeast. Okay.
Yep.
The grapes come in with yeast,
Yep.
So a lot of times I do natural ferments. Other times I do augmented ferments. And so the yeast I choose very carefully. They're non-HMO, GMO, HMO.
GMO.
They are, some of them are on the OMRI organic list. I'm very careful and selective about what I do. And sometimes, you don't have to do anything. Like that carbonic maceration ferment just kicked off on its own, and it just went all the way through. It's a dance. You got to monitor and make sure that the wine's complete fermentation. So if you do everything right, it kind of takes care of itself. Then there's once in a while you have a trouble wine, you have a bad child, and you might need to fine it. Okay, so use a little bentonite, pretty inert stuff. I'm not using those 251 enzymes and chemicals and adjuncts and things that are all sound like plastic. Don't use them. Don't even touch them. It's just not my style.
So you make wine in a European style with a French influence in Ventura County. There you go.
There you go. You got it.
And what year did you start making wine versus what year did you start making wine commercially?
Okay, well, my first cuvee was in 1994.
Okay.
It was a Bien Nacido Syrah, which is kind of like learning how to drive in a Rolls Royce. You could still plow it into the ditch. But that came out pretty nice. And that got me hooked. It's the wine bug. You get hooked, and oh God, you can't stop. And so I was going through the learning process. Started to work for some commercial wineries, the Ojai Vineyard. I worked for an organic certified Casa Barranca. And then I said, I just got to do this on my own. I can't listen to someone else tell me how to make wine when they don't know what they're talking about. And so I branched off. And, it's ego. And I got
French.
and I got a big one.
Commercially, you started in what year?
Oh,
Commercial?
about 2011. So what it was finances, taking the step, just trying to make the decision. And I said, I just got to do it. I should have done it 5 or 10 years earlier. I should have, but it's just 2011.
There you go. And then you mentioned that you use some indigenous yeast, indigenous meaning that is there on the property.
Yes.
But do you follow any organic practices? I know your wines aren't organic because there's a stack of papers you have to fill out this big with the government, but do you follow mostly organic practices?
Primarily, very much. We are very clean in our operation. I know because I've been up there weed whacking and hoeing and mowing, and we spread mulch. We do all that kind of stuff. We try the best we can to keep the activities as organic as possible. I do not get certified because I don't believe in the paperwork stuff.
I understand. I know a lot of winemakers like that, actually. They just say, yeah, we follow organic practices, or we're sustainable, or we're, but the hoops you have to go through are pretty extensive. And if you're a small operation, it's just not worth the time, I don't think.
It's very expensive, I like everything to be organic, so I try the best I can. The biodynamic is just a little bit too finicky for me. I can't follow the moon phases to decide when to pick and that kind of stuff. But some people can, and I think that's great.
I thought it was voodoo, but every wine I have ever had from a biodynamic producer has been off the charts. I have to tell you. So if they want to take the time to do all that stuff, I'm in because I like the wine. But I get it.
There you go. Yeah.
We planted our Fillmore vineyard using the biodynamic calendar, but I don't know. We haven't really gotten a crop out of it to know when to pick it, by that calendar.
It's a
Well,
holistic.
yeah, you go by the phase, but
So if I could ask our participants, if anybody wants to now put on your mic, what I'd like to do is just walk you through how I taste. And I don't want to do the talking. I can answer questions and Bruce can answer questions. But we're going to start with this Chardonnay. I always look at the color.
sure.
And I look at the color up against a white piece of paper. And I don't hold it up against the light because that doesn't really do any good. So if you want to look at the color against a white piece of paper, on a Chard, it should be some hue of gold. And then I always swirl the glass. And if you hold it on a surface with the stem, you can get a really good swirl and you can put your nose in it. And you want to just think about what does it smell like? What fruit? It should smell like fruit more than anything. And what fruit does it smell like? Is it raspberries? Is it apples? Is it pears? Is it linen? Then you can think about things like flowers. Does it smell like flowers? Is there any spice? Is there any nuttiness? Sometimes with a Chard, there'll be some popcorn or butter or something like that. And then when you taste it, I have special instructions for everyone.
Got really cold here.
When you taste, I want you to take it in your mouth and I want you to just hold it there. A lot of sommeliers will suck air in and that aerates the wine in your mouth. You're welcome to do that. But I like to hold the wine for a minute before I swallow because the first thing you taste is any sweetness or fruitiness. And then as you hold on to it, you'll taste any spice in the mid palate. In a red wine, you'll get the tannins and spice will start evolving in the mid palate. And then when you swallow it, you'll get the acidity. The acidity is what makes it really, really inviting to have another sip. It helps balance the fruit and it gets you right here. And some wines some grapes have a naturally higher acidity than other grapes. And so a Sauvignon Blanc is going to be a higher acidity, going to make you really water here. Whereas most of the time a California Chard is going to have a medium acidity. It won't be quite as high. So I want you to chime in. Let's taste the Chard.
Very good. Asante. Yeah, you like the Chard.
Did you understand? Did you see that transition in your palate where you get the fruit first, and you get the spice, and then it comes back and gets your hair on the back? So if any of our participants have comments, I'd love to hear from you. Tick tock, tick tock. I feel that like that.
Does anyone like it?
So
Yeah.
Mary's in where are you? In
San Jose, California.
okay, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And Saba, you're in Atlanta, right?
that's right.
So not far from Ruth.
Yeah, about 5 hours, believe it or not.
Oh, wow, Georgia's bigger than I thought.
It is.
But thank you,
Well,
Ruth.
Ruth is on an island.
That was you're right about that. I never tasted with the acid on the food. And the stories, amazing. I'm so glad we got to do this. It's like a personal tutorial. The whole winemaking, I really appreciate everything you guys are doing, and it looks so beautiful. You're literally living the dream right now.
Yeah.
So, Bruce, Gretel, thank you so much for this. I mean, thank you for this wine. We're gonna enjoy
Oh,
this.
yeah. Well, thank you. And if you want to live the dream with me, come out.
You don't have to ask me twice. I'm quitting my job tomorrow. So,
All right. We're still pruning.
Mary and I are friends
Good
from
work.
California, and we were just saying we should be out there helping them. That's literally what we were typing to each other, that we just do all of this work for
I've got an open invitation for you anytime, you know.
Mm.
There's pruning, there's harvest, there's bottling, there's everything.
Mary, do you have
Not-
some?
You might see me out there then. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I learned an awful lot. So I mean, I love wines, but I kind of, I drink them but I like trying different ones. And I have to say Chardonnay is what I used to always go to, but I've been broadening out a lot into like the time of year and, what I feel like drinking. And that's what I've been doing too, is like just, throwing it. Like, I don't believe that you have to have white with fish and chicken and, it's like,
yeah,
what
yeah.
people like drinking.
Yeah, very good, very good.
Mhm.
Yeah, the Chard that you're drinking now is my attempt to diverge a little bit from the California Chards that were so prominent and try to make a little more European influence to it. So I try to keep it a little more mineral and a little more bright in the acid and not smothered in the oak and the overripeness.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
to me, it's more alive.
I agree. I think that's what it is. There's kind of like an aftertaste. So it's not that like buttery kind of
Yes,
feeling or
yeah.
anything. And there's kind of like a clean aftertaste on the palate after.
Yeah.
Like it's really refreshing and nice. It goes all the way from, the nose of it and then the taste of it, but then that aftertaste after a little bit. And like Ruth, when you said hold it in your mouth and and then you really get a feel for the complexity of it.
Yeah,
and then-
and the other key to me is if it comes back around after you've tasted all these different nuances and flavors, if it comes back around to fruit, I look at it as a well-made wine. And this does, it comes back around to that lemon, which is typical of a Chardonnay. And this is definitely more indicative of a cool climate Chardonnay because you're getting the apple and the lemon and it's tart. It's got a higher acidity, makes your mouth water. It does have a little bit of nuttiness to it, but it doesn't have that lick a tree feeling that I cannot stand.
Yeah.
Do it. And so when I'm Chardonnay, I'm always in Burgundy. I always go French because I can't usually count on California to give me something lighter and brighter and not like I need to be sitting in a camp, like next to a fireside in a, I guess I would like a buttery big Chardonnay, of course, a really well-made one. If I was at a ski resort next to a, fireplace and it was really cold outside and I needed that heat and that,
14.5%.
yeah, and the full-bodied Chardonnay. This is more of a medium-bodied Chardonnay. I have two questions for you, Bruce, because with Chardonnay, a lot of people want to know what the barrel versus
Stainless steel.
regimen is. So if you could tell us that, and also if you could explain what I can explain it, but I'm sure you can explain it also what malolactic fermentation is, and whether or not you encourage this wine to have malolactic fermentation. Those are my two.
Yeah. Okay. So this particular wine was crushed, destemmed, pressed right away, and fermented in stainless steel, totally. And if it went into any oak, it was just for maybe a transfer or a racking. So most of it was all.
I don't remember that. I remember it only
all stainless steel. And so it doesn't go through malic because it's not sitting in a barrel. Barrels promote malic, and malolactic is lactic acid being transferred to malic acid, which is a second fermentation. You have the alcoholic fermentation at the beginning, then you have this other event. You can block it and stop it. So that keeps it more acidic and brighter and not so flat, to use a term.
And in some fermentations, it happens automatically, like in some red fermentations, I think I understand that mallow converts.
Well, if you put it into the barrel, the barrel tends to enhance the malolactic fermentation process.
Yeah.
Just from what's in the barrel, oak staves from previous years winemaking. So all my reds I put in barrel to do that, just to go through malic and to make them softer and not fizzy. The whites I tend to keep in stainless steel. Now here's another twist that you'll look forward to, because my 2020 is what's called a skin contact approach.
Okay.
So I'm making my new Chardonnay for 2020 with was it 3, 4, 5 days of skin contact like you would a red wine, and that adds that,
Fermenting in the bin, just like a red wine.
yeah, it adds that mouth feel and body that you get with the oak, but without using the oak. So it's going to be a new little twist. I'll be interested in your response on that approach, but it's still all in stainless. So you get the brightness, you get the mouth feel, you get the creaminess. You know, it's going to be a little different, but it's going to be fun. And I'm gonna go between both those styles off and on, and they'll be highlighted on the label so you'll know. But
Speaking of a label, I meant to mention this to everyone. The pictures on the label, the Chardonnay has this, is it a cougar or some kind of a
yeah, mountain lion.
Right. Mountain lion, puma, cougar.
And then
Same
on the
thing.
Pinot, it's the snake, and on the Grenache, it's a butterfly, a certain
Painted,
kind of butterfly.
yeah.
Checker
Painted
spot.
lady,
Checker spot.
checker spot.
So they're all animals that are in your vineyard, correct?
Well, they're in the county.
In
They
the
are another reference to the Ventura County-ness of the wines. So we're using flora and fauna. Some of the labels have
Ours.
Yeah, like the Matilaha poppy is on the late harvest Riesling.
Okay, hold it up
So
just a little higher. Hold it up a little higher. There we go.
and so we use different things, that highlight Ventura County.
And there's
Okay.
hiking trails on there too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, there's a whole layer of information on it.
I'm hoping there's not mountain lions in the vineyard. I guess I should have said Ventura.
Well, actually there
Actually,
are.
there is.
And there's rattlesnakes,
Yes.
and there's bears. Yeah,
Okay,
in
well,
Fillmore we have bears.
Move along to the Pinot. If everyone
Okay.
grab your Pinot Noir. And just for people that are
Yes.
watching, if you don't have wine is still available through Vero. There was a special pricing put together for this trio. Please consider purchasing the trio. Deal. But they're all very high quality. And this was the first wine that I tasted from Clos des Amis, and I couldn't believe how good it was. I was shocked because it's definitely more old world style, but I still was like, Pinot from Ventura County, what? It's a cool kind of grape, what? So anyway, cheers everybody. I want to know your thoughts.
Cheers.
I like it a lot better, like since it's been sitting and it's open and it's aerated some. So I think that was like a good key for me. Like I did open them early, but left them in the bottle, and I probably should have poured it into a glass, but I really am appreciating it now. Like since we've been talking and stuff, I think, maybe it had, like I was smelling a lot of tannins or something in the beginning, but now it's like mellowed out and I can really taste it, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, good.
Floral.
Very-
It's so aromatic. It smells like dried, like rose metal potpourri.
Yeah.
Rose petal potpourri, and it's
Yep.
and cherries and cinnamon and
Yeah,
the other-
yeah. Go
Saba,
ahead.
do you have any comments on this one?
I opened mine really late, but I agree with Mary. I felt that it needed to air a little for me, but initially it's funny, and I don't mean to be rude. As soon as you opened and I smelled it, I could actually smell the mildew, or it was because you were saying the word mildew. It just had this weird connection in my brain. And I was like, what? And I was smelling it at that point, but it's definitely, I mirror Mary's thoughts. I'm enjoying this now. When we were first opened the bottle, maybe not so much, but it's really full. It's fruity to me. I can't detect what it is perhaps, but it's feels more full than I enjoy Pinots in general. So I think, in general, I'm going to love this wine anyway, but this is definitely a nice full medium to fill body. I like it. I can only say I like it so far. I think it's an hour and a half earlier than I did.
That's very good. Now,
That want to
the-
comment? Is there any I don't know how many more participants we have on still, but does anyone else want to?
Well, we have Sue. I don't know if Sue's tasting. So is Gwendolyn tasting?
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Gwendolyn's tasting.
I'm trying to keep the dogs quiet. And it's getting warm enough because it's cold.
Yeah, you need to come over here to be seen, probably. Yeah, Gwendolyn's our other big helper here.
Hi.
Yay.
Hi. So, Bruce, you mentioned that you don't do carbonic maceration on this wine, but there are many producers in the world that let the Pinot grapes experience carbonic maceration on their own, where they are, it's, you know, some of them are pressed, some of them are not, so that some of them actually have the grape skins that are creating the closed environment.
Yes.
And I think that's how it happened originally. I don't think it was really invented as much as that's how it kind of happened in the vineyard a long time ago. And Gamay and Beaujolais is another one they do carbonic maceration.
That's the standard. Yeah.
The standard. And that's where they get that bubblegummy kind of note for Gamay. But you are not doing that on your Pinot, and I'm sort of glad because I don't think it needs it. It's very aromatic. But now what's your barrel regimen with this one?
It's basically crusty stem ferment with. I do have a special yeast I've been using. It's a
That's the Vita liver.
It's I'm forgetting the word right now, but it's taken from Burgundy. So I like that, and I keep it all in oak, neutral oak, and
How long? How long do you age it?
it's 8 to 10 months. I kind of bottle them right away. I need space. I do have some sitting longer. You know, in neutral oak, barrel aging doesn't impact it as much. It just keeps it safe, protected. What it is more of the low SO2 regime that makes the wines age better in oak, neutral or not. It's the wine. I don't put in the SO2 until I bottle. The wines are completely clean and honest all their life. So they grow, they change that way.
And we don't filter the reds.
No, don't filter the reds. And so the aging occurs because of there's no SO2, and so they're growing entities. You know, they do what they do on their own. I just protect them, keep them. You know, I sample them all the time, make sure they're happy, and you know, just kind of monitor them. You don't. You know, the grapes come in and they're herbal and they're spicy, and it's a neat little Pinot. I don't over extract them. I don't want a Pinot to taste like a big heavy Syrah, you know, that I've created in the past at other places. I want them to be lighter, expressive. You know, I like the spice and the compost, the you know, the dead leaf, you know, those kind of elements, which is probably what was a little off.
Must be.
Yeah, for the beginning, and then once it opens up, it just all these other spicy elements develop.
And this vineyard is up here on the hillside on South Mountain in the middle of like chaparral, right? So there's all these plants growing around it, like the sage and you know, lupins and yuccas and all these different plants. I think, I don't know, I taste an influence there from those things.
Maybe.
And the indigenous yeast would be influenced by that.
And Saba, to your point, many, and actually to what he was speaking about too, one of the notes that you look for on Pinot is sometimes a damp leaf, like you're walking in the woods after rain,
Yep.
or truffle. Sometimes, especially like on Oregon Pinot, you almost always get that damp leaf. It's not a off-putting smell. It's a fresh, outdoorsy smell. But there's a truffle. There's definitely, I'm getting like a truffle note on this.
I can
So-
sense the taste, the spiciness as it goes down now
Yep.
with time. It's actually my third sip or something. I started to taste it. So everything you just said, and I thought of this before you said it, so I can taste it.
You hold it on your palate, because if you didn't do the trick, you gotta take it and hold it there. And after a few seconds, the spice blows up in your
Yeah,
mouth.
it did. It does.
That way. Or sometimes we, as Americans, we just, kick back, slug back.
Yeah.
So that's why I try to get people to slow down, And then, that technique is something that I do when I'm tasting professionally. It's sort of my way of understanding what the wine has to say. So I encourage people to do that a lot when they're not in a hurry. So I cheated and I just tasted the Grenache and I love it. I love it.
Is it
Oh
wonderful?
my gosh, I love it, girl.
Okay.
I was hoping that I would love it, but I didn't put any, I'm pretty good about not judging something beforehand because I'm very critical actually with all the tasting I've done in the last 20 years.
Very good.
But
Very good.
this is a beautiful Grenache. It's to me, it's fresh, it's not Rhone, Chateauneuf. It's nothing like what you're going to get from Southern Rhone heat-oriented producer. This is cool climate Grenache, or cooler. I won't say you're not cool climate, but you're cooler climate. And you can definitely see that influence of the diurnal swings and the daytime temperatures versus the nighttime temperatures. But it's just beautiful.
Isn't it? I mean,
Oh, thank you.
just the fruit that comes forward, it's just so inviting.
Well, how can you not like a Grenache? I mean, it's such a fun grape. And we make a rosé with it. It's just a versatile grape. So I just love it. And this is both from the estate vineyard, and we have another vineyard up in the upper Ojai region, and I think that's the Las Tablas clone. So you start mixing all these different elements, and the fineness in Ventura County is just I love it. We can't. I need to plant more of it, and we did.
Yeah, this is one we're trying to do more of.
It's fruity. It's big. It's got cojones. It's got some tannins. It's got some grip.
It's not a big boy Grenache like you get out of the Southern Rhone or out of like Spain. The Grenaches, it's nothing like those wines. Those are dark and inky and saturated and they're dark, but this is beautiful. Mary, what's your comment? Do you have
I was gonna say, I've had Grenaches that it's like, okay, I really like this. I really like this one. I have to say, I think this is my favorite Grenache I've ever had.
There you go. There you go.
Yay!
I'll drink to that. You want them food friendly. Excuse me. You want them food friendly. You want to be able to drink them and enjoy them with the meal too. I like a big wine, but I want to be able to have more than one glass.
Yeah.
I agree.
And
This
Gwendolyn had a comment.
Well, one of the things that I was going to say is that I just checked the alcohol on this and it's actually 14.8, and I was really surprised because it doesn't taste at all like that, and it doesn't have any of that high alcohol kind of like would
either.
There's so much there's so much spice and everything's just so integrated in the wine that you don't it doesn't matter what the alcohol was, is what it was to make this wine.
It's interesting. The timing of bottling is really interesting. It's kind of like the wines tell you. We're here every day, not tasting them every day, but we monitor them constantly. And then there's a point we're going, this one's ready to go. It's like pregnancy. I have no idea what that's about, but it's like that. Well, my best, I'm stepping in areas I shouldn't go now.
I'm just gonna say probably. No, it's delicious. I've enjoyed this. We talked a little bit about the soil in the beginning. You talked about carbonic maceration with the Zin. Are there any other comments you want to make about these wines, or that anybody wants any questions they have to ask you before we wrap it up?
Well, here, let me step out of the way here and see if you can see these. I have on the barrel head here behind me. I got it pretty good.
I wanted to ask you all the different styles that you make. Maybe Gretel
Can you see these?
No, they're only the tops. Maybe Gretel can hold them up one by one, because we saw the sparkling and we saw the rosé.
Oh, okay.
Well, this is the Riesling.
This is our late harvest Riesling. It's a dessert wine.
Oh, nice.
It's very sweet, very, very nice. I mean, when I mean sweet, it's like just really, really lovely.
But it has a nice acidity as well.
Yeah, so it fights that
Yeah,
not
it's
cloying,
well
you know.
balanced.
Our Sauvignon Blanc, which is on that diatomaceous earth slope, is I like to kind of say it's like on the side of a Sancerre as opposed to a New Zealand Kiwi kind of wine, you know, but it's a beautiful wine, nice acid.
Oh, there, that helped. We can see now. That's better.
Okay. This is a white wine, generic white wine that I made because that was my first skin contact experiment. It's a Chardonnay wine, but it's got some skin contact to it. That's what has launched my new approach on making the 2020 Chardonnay with some skin contact. So if you're interested in that.
This wine is the deal of the century. You cannot find a better wine on the planet at that price, especially with food. It's insanely good.
Here's the Chard we just had. This is the Champagne.
Nice. Well, it's not champagne, it's champagne.
Champagne.
Oh, I love your label. Champagne. That's awesome.
Another romantic thing is
Awesome.
Gretel and I work on these labels together.
Oh,
Hey, and Ruth, it comes with its own opener.
oh, wow.
Nice. Love
Because
it.
I keep it on a crown cap.
Oh, okay.
And so, you know, there's no reason not to have a party. I make a rosé.
This
Now
is
you
This is Grenache and Mourvedre.
Oh, Grenache, how much Mourvedre?
It's usually about 2/3 Grenache and 1/3 Mourvedre. Sometimes it's 50-50. It depends because my Grenache got hit with some problems, but that is the blend. That, you know, I made rosés out of Pinot, made rosés out of Syrah. This is the best.
and that's like the south of France. That's like
Bandal, man. It's
yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
the Pinot Noir, which you just sampled,
Which we like.
with that rattlesnake that lives up there. Okay, here is our GSM, and that's our little island fox.
Mm.
And this is a Grenache Mourvedre Syrah blend. Changes every year based on what we feel. It's always a winner. This is the perfect marriage if there's ever one.
There such a thing.
If there's ever such a thing, this is the one.
Valentine's. There's a little Valentine's.
There's a little Valentine's. Yeah.
Perfect marriage. I love it.
The monks at the Southern Row knew what they were doing on that one.
Yeah, go monks. We have
we have a Syrah. We have the California Condor on that guy because this guy is a meaty, big Syrah.
Yeah, spicy and peppery and
Peppery, yeah.
some,
I don't want to say,
I love bacon on a Syrah.
yeah. I don't want to say Crow's Hermitage, but yeah, I'll say it.
And of course the Grenache.
And here's the Grenache, which you guys just had with the butterfly.
That's beautiful.
Beautiful.
And
Gretel does the illustrations. That's our
Love
other artistic collaboration. Now this is a Dudleya on a Malbec. Okay, forget Argentina. This, I think, Ruth, is a grape that's going to do very well in Ventura County. If I were to plant acres of grapes in Ventura County, it'd be a lot of Malbec. It
Okay.
just seems to be right.
Good to
I'll
know.
send you some of this. You should try that.
That'd be great.
And then we also have a Petit Verdot, which was a kind of a fluke, and it's beautiful. Gretel calls it
Haha.
violets and sex.
Okay, very good.
Not sex and violets, because you can't say that right. It goes weird. But and it is. This will get you lucky. So that's what we make.
Seductive.
And we don't have the Zinfandel bottled yet. So that's
Yeah,
next.
that's still in barrel.
And there's a couple field blends that we're doing now that are fun mixes, that
That's good. I was gonna say,
that we're
people,
trying.
some of those are meant to be blended, like the Petit Verdot has been blended for centuries, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it usually is, but as a single varietal here, it actually excels.
Yeah, it was very nice. And we've
Mhm.
made we try. It'd be nice to have more and more and more acreage. It just takes time and
Resources.
and resources,
Yeah.
But we're making quite a nice variety of what we have with our,
It's
various
awesome.
vineyards. And yeah, it's what we do here at
Thank you.
Claudia's and me.
Can we have a round of applause?
Thank you.
And to all of you,
Yes,
Thank
thank you
you.
for joining.
thank you for putting this
Great
on.
wine.
And thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I'm glad you enjoyed them.
Thank you. Thanks,
So
Ruth.
thank you.
Thank you, Ruth.
We really dived in. It was
Good.
made it really interesting.
Come
Yeah.
out and visit.
We will, definitely.
Can you stay on after the Facebook thing is over for a second?
What's that?
Can the three of us stay on for just a couple minutes?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I'll end the Facebook one. Sure.
Okay, we'll see you guys later.
Okay.
Okay,
Hi,
thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Get down. Molly, get down. Get down. I know.
I just want to let Bruce and Gretel know that my sister has a wine club, and I do a wine tasting for her over Zoom. She has friends that are still pretty much on lockdown. They're not going anywhere, doing anything.